Good morning, Ms. Bernstein. Welcome to the committee. Please state your name for the record to begin your testimony.
Thank you, Chair Robbins and members. My name is Faye Bernstein, B-E-R-N-S-T-E-I-N. I first want to just make a comment on the report and say the word that I think no one from DHS wants to hear again, but that's retaliation, the R word. I am a 20-year employee. I'm a current employee of DHS, and I am one of the very, very few DHS employees who can publicly speak about what the environment is there. We have a very large group. You probably have heard about the large group of employees who anonymously tweet and anonymously work with law enforcement and the OLA, et cetera. I have chosen to be public. I think it has certainly harmed me professionally, personally. It has harmed me in many ways to be public, but I feel like we have to just openly speak about the conditions at the Department of Human Services. The retaliation that I experienced was about 7 years ago. In the course of doing my job, came across some contract irregularities that I would consider in the scope of what we talk about today to be quite minor. But as minor as they were, it was not something that DHS leadership could hear. They just couldn't hear it. And as a result of me speaking about it, I was walked out of the building. I was banned from all DHS-owned and licensed property. So if you can imagine, the rest of the public can go to the Anderson building and can apply for SNAP, and I could not. I could not use the ATM. I could not use the cafeteria. I was not allowed in the building. I was investigated. That went on for months and months. I can only imagine the cost to the state of that investigation. And I've never spoken out about the results of the investigation, but I guess this would be as good a time as any. The results of months and months of investigation and asking my coworkers for examples of when I was racist, when I was threatening to do harm to leadership. The result of all of that was that I was found to have questioned the competency and the decision-making of the leadership in the Behavioral Health Division, and I was found to have held up contracts that had compliance problems. So let me just say I plead guilty to both of those things. I absolutely did both of those things, and I'm doing both of those things today. I am very much questioning the competency of the leadership of the Department of Human Services. And I hate to do that because these are people I know very well. I think I know Commissioner Gandhi very well. I've had a lot of contact with her, a lot of time with her. But the actions, the mindset, I heard you use the term fraud prevention mindset. That is not present. That is not present at the Department of Human Services. I don't know if I would dare to use the word compassion, because compassion sounds as if it is the right thing to do. Compassion when huge amounts of money are stolen is not the right thing to do. There has been just tremendous mistakes. And yes, I have been affected. I certainly did not appreciate being humiliated and being accused of a race crime. I certainly did not appreciate that. But more importantly, when we think about people this winter had fingers and toes frozen off because the Department of Human Services had to shut down a program. So people without homes had real consequences, much more serious consequences than I had. I do not see how we can come through this and actually quit this year after year, decade after decade problem, I do not see how we can come through this without a massive change at the Department of Human Services in our leadership. There just really simply has to be firings. And I hate to say that, I hate to see people fired, but there is no other way to turn this around. There really is no other way. It is so entrenched. The need to retaliate against people who speak up, as I initially did in the most benign ways. The need to retaliate against people like me is so ingrained. It is through every step of the process. Every person that I spoke to about this as I was working up the chain of command to try to get the contract problem resolved, every person I encountered, I look back now and I realize I didn't get a satisfactory response from anyone, even our internal auditors. I thought at the time I was being heard, and I now realize that I wasn't at all. We have an OLA report that I guess I could have written it. It's exactly what I was saying 7 years ago. So thank you for letting me speak to this. It's very important to me. I think it's important to all of you, and I hope you really hear what I'm saying about we need a dramatic change at the Department of Human Services. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony, Ms. Bernstein.